Hey folks, it's Egwin here from Beyond Systems. How to activate Qi. Now this is the topic for today, and it has been the topic for a couple of videos prior to this one. This is a standalone video. However, if you're interested in the topic, I strongly suggest you jump to my channel and you watch the previous videos on the subject as well, since I'm picking out specific aspects of it in order to have a little bit more time to explain them in greater detail and eventually bring all of them together again so that you really get into this deep understanding of what it actually means and how all the different dots are connected with each other. The specific point we're talking about today is how to activate Qi using movement. Now, obviously, for those of you who've watched the previous ones, I guess you already have this vague idea that it's never just one thing. Intent, movement, breathing, all of those things, they flow together in order to activate and to generate Qi, or to sort of get power and flow into this life force energy. However, this time focusing on movement as the activation or motivator, as the motivator for the Qi in this specific case. Again, there are a couple of different things that you can do. Movement in general means that the Qi, the life force energy, is already flowing. This whole concept of Qi is a moving concept. So the whole idea behind the life force energy Qi, as the Chinese describe it, is a dynamic one, which means that movement is absolutely at the center of this whole energy idea the Chinese are promoting here. And that's also something that shows in the way they developed methods to enhance Qi, to promote health, and so on. When you take a look at it, there is Qigong, there is Tai Chi, there is Baduan, there is Shini, there is Ilikchuan, and so on and so on. So all those are different methods that were designed, Dao In, and so on. All those are different moving methods that were designed by the Chinese in order to actually promote the flow of Qi, to promote health, and to promote and support this vital energy. Now, one very interesting thing out of the traditional Chinese medicine, I keep pointing that out because it really shows this dynamic aspect of Qi. When we take a look at cancer, in traditional Chinese medicine terms of view, cancer is viewed as something where energy gets actually stuck and where there is a lack of flow of energy, meaning a lack of movement, in other words. Now, when we take a look at this idea in tight relation to the body, it's quite interesting that we find that there is only one organ in the body that we know of currently that does not get malignant cancer, and that's our heart. Funny thing also being, the heart is the only organ in our body that, if it stops moving, even in parts, has an immediate effect on the body, much more immediate than any type of cancer could have, because this would mean a heart attack, which means a much more life-threatening and immediate situation anyway. All the other organs, even if you think like the lungs, well, they are moving sort of constantly as well. You inhale, you exhale, they expand, they contract. But if a part of the lung gets a cancer and doesn't move anymore, regular people won't even notice that, because most people don't even use the full extent of their lung volume. So this is really a quite interesting aspect that shows in this whole dynamic idea that is also shared by traditional Chinese medicine and different activation ideas, activation and health promoting systems, or even martial arts in China, which I just mentioned before, Qigong, Tai Chi, and so on. Now, when we take a look more specifically on the body, in the body, the flow of Qi is promoted obviously by movement. To be more precise, which type of movement, the ideal movement to promote flow is a movement that has a potential difference in every aspect of it. Now, what does this very scientific expression actually mean? Think about it like that. If you move and you're completely collapsed, your whole structure is completely collapsed, your posture is completely collapsed, and you're literally mainly hanging in your passive structures, in your ligaments, in your tendons, and really in this fascial structure, and the muscles are merely doing not enough, actually, they're just not working properly, then this doesn't really promote the flow of qi. The same is true for the reverse, meaning if you move with very high tension throughout the whole body in all muscle groups at the same time, again, the flow of qi is not promoted. On the contrary, it's limited. There is a lot of qi due to the tension, there is a lot of energy going on, a lot of energy exchange going on, but it's not flowing. And whenever qi is not flowing, in Chinese terms, it's not really what they refer to as activated. So when we are talking about the activation of qi, we are talking about an energy form that moves freely, that has a certain dynamic, maybe even a certain rhythm to it. And that is something that you can promote with movement. The only other movement styles, quote unquote, that are currently available for the masses without a lot of research are Western developments like Alexander technique, or in general somatic education, because they promote something similar than they promote a similar structure and a similar movement system than the old traditional Chinese methods of moving. Even yoga does not fall into this category. I don't want to go into too much of a detail about difference in movement between yoga and Qigong. That will definitely go beyond this video's frame. I'm gonna explain that in a separate video probably, because that's of interest, I guess, to a lot more people than those who would just be interested in the activation of qi. So going back at it, when we talk about the activation of qi in the body, we always want to have a tension differential between different body parts, meaning we want to have a clear differentiable tension level between my agonist and my antagonistic muscle groups. So antagonist and agonist muscle groups, now when you take a look at my wrist here, now when I flex my wrist, the inside part of my arm is working. When I extend my wrist back, and then the outside part of my muscles of my forearm is working. Now when I flex my wrist, the muscles on the inside are the agonists, the supporters for this movement, and the muscles on the outside, they are the antagonistic muscle group, and then vice versa. So agonist, antagonist is actually an yin-yang principle, or it is a relational principle similar to yin and yang, which is one of those core concepts the Chinese work with anyway. Freedom and energy flow in movement and and an increase in energy level in the Chinese movement styles is always created by a change between tension and relaxation, a rhythmic change between tension and relaxation. You'll find that in all of the movement styles. It doesn't matter if it's Tai Chi, if it's Bagua, if it's Qigong, if it's Daoyin, it doesn't matter. All of those styles, they do the same thing in their core. Even things like shaking are a representation of that. And shaking is probably one of the most simple and basic forms of activation of qi. When I say shaking, I literally mean just stand there, feet roughly hip wide apart, maybe a little bit further, inside edges of the feet parallel to each other, and then start to bounce up and down. Like just shake it out literally throughout the body in a movement where you just bounce up and down, up and down, up and down. So basically your knees go to the front and to the rear. Don't think up and down in your knees. It's just this bounce up and down in your legs that will just shake out your whole body and will activate qi. Again, it's a change of tension and relaxation between agonist and antagonistic muscle groups, mainly triggered by a movement in your center that eventually also activates your legs, and that helps you to bounce up and down. As mentioned before, I'm going to do a separate, actually, exercise video where I show some of those exercises so that you also have tools to all the theory that I'm presenting right now. Okay, coming back at it, whenever we try to move our body, there is a difference of whether or not we tense up, say, our whole arm, or we just use the minimum amount of tension in the arm without it collapsing in order to move it from A to B, which allows qi, energy, blood flow, lymphatic flow, and all those different dynamic aspects. And that's exactly one of the main things that you have to take care of when you want to activate qi through movement. Make sure there is a dynamic, make sure there is a dynamic switch between tension and relaxation. Don't try to go tense all the way, don't try to go relax all the way. Neither of those two polarities in their own will activate qi. On the contrary, one will literally have you lose energy, the other one will literally move you towards a more stuck but high energetic state. And with a lot of energy, you definitely do not want to get stuck. That's one of the most problematic health things that in Chinese medicine you have to resolve. So I definitely suggest to try and get into this flowing aspect. Use polarities, use tension and relaxation in the body. All of those things where you expand towards a certain point and then you release, you let go, and you let the body flow back into its neutral state, and then you activate towards the other point again. All of those things, they have this potential differential or tension differential in them, and they will help you to activate your qi. At the beginning, it's easy to do so with rather simple movements, and eventually you can do so with much more complex movements, ideally with spiral movements, because that's the way your joints are built, and that's also the way your whole cellular pulse is actually running through the body, how your blood pulse is running through your body, and so on. So every spiral action normally enhances whatever type of activation and whatever type of really enhancement in terms of qi flow, energy flow, and in general also lymphatic flow, liquid flow in the body, and flow you can create. And as mentioned before, flow equals more energy, more activated energy, more energy that you can actively work with, and that can actually help you to promote your health. Because whenever there is a proper flow, and flow, one more word of caution here, flow does not mean flow in terms of one speed all the way through your life. That's just as bad as going completely crazy or doing nothing at all. Flow is literally, I'm going to use the Chinese analogy for that. Always think about flow like the Yuzhou River is flowing. So there are passages in there with increased speed, and there are passages in there with a little lower speed where it's really calm waters. And that's exactly how you want flow to happen. You want to change in rhythmicality, you want to change in dynamics, but you want it to constantly flow rather than being stuck or stagnant at one specific point. So whatever you can do in order to promote flow, promote a tension differential in the body, also just simple things like I mentioned before, like shaking yourself out, those are beautiful things that you can do physically in order to improve your qi flow and activate qi physically. How intent and breathing play into that is something that I'll reserve for a later video, and as mentioned before a couple of times, I will do a complete exercise session on this as well, where you just get a visual view and some very rough explanations on how to actually move or breathe and so on to activate it and have an actual tool and not just a theory about it. All right, have a wonderful time. See you around soon, maybe in the next video. Click the links in the description below if you want to check out the intention videos and the other videos on Qi activation that are out there so far. There are more to come in this series. And also check out the link below if you want to jump into the Baduan Qigong online course, which I just launched. It is, I think, the most comprehensive course on the subject matter on the internet. It's 54 video modules, basic and advanced level, and it really takes you all the way through a physical as well as psychological, energetic, and also philosophical understanding of this specific Qigong set that is designed to promote health and overall well-being. Have a wonderful time. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so if you want to stay up to date in the Qi series and also in everything that has to do with biomechanics, with flow, with movement, with healthy posture, and so on. All the best. Thanks for watching. See you.